Welcome to Cut Daisies and Unicorns, Phil and Steve edition.
Hey Phil, how you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Oh man, I'm doing better than I was 15 minutes ago.
That's good.
Yeah, it's really good.
Breath and air.
Yeah, just a little bit of breathing. Yeah, reflection. Getting over myself.
Can you do that quickly? I mean, is that because that seems like quite a skill, like to be able to process and be able to move, like when you're stuck and then like how quickly it takes to get unstuck.
Yeah. Well, I think it, like any craft, the more practice that you have, sometimes you can get better at it. And so I find that my emotional swings get me stuck, and so getting unstuck is one of those crafts where I'm just like, gotta figure it out. Take a deep breath and know everything will be okay. So,
because it seems for me like if I'm stuck in it takes me a little while. That's why I was like 15 minutes. That's pretty good. Like, whoo, breathe, done. On to the next.
Yeah, and our guests are like, what happened 15 minutes ago? And really, it was not 15 minutes ago. It's for the last 2.5 hours. We were doing a test of how we're going to use Zoom. And when we first started doing the podcast, we had a system set up and it was going to work, but we hadn't Zoomed with anyone for quite a while. And so then like going back into the system and figuring that out. And even though working with technology is something that I do, it's not really the air in my sails.
Right. Or the common breath that you breathe and it just works seamlessly.
Ooh, yeah. So, I mean, we had a friend on, and you're going to see Bill Clark coming along the way, and he was helping us with the test, and so we threw a trailer together with Bill. Mm-hmm. And but man, in the middle of that, I was just like, rah, 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 rah. So if you're having a grumpy day, it's okay. Just take a breath and breathe out, and then everything it all ends up working out.
Right.
Yeah.
I learned the technique and I think I mentioned before, making sure that you're breathing in through your nose and out through your nose, because there's something about the breath, like a nose breath versus a mouth breath.
Yeah.
And I know that there's some techniques that use both nose, mouth, but yeah. So good stuff to learn. Expanding your breathing capacity is a good thing.
And the goal is to keep breathing.
Right.
Yeah. Hey, but speaking of technology, things that we've done before, things that we're not doing any longer, just wanted to prep the audience for if you're like, hey, on that interview, it seemed like it's not like what you guys are doing right now. We just wanted to give you a heads up that we are going to be sharing some interviews that we've done, and we did it with a different system. Currently, we've upgraded, and the tools that we're using are working really, really well for us, and for the editing process and all of that. But coming up on Thursday, we have one of those interviews.
Yeah.
We were all gung ho. We had things figured out. If you feel like, well, hold it, lips aren't matching with the audio, or wow, that was some really bad footage. Right. I think this one, the conversation is going to overcome the experience.
Yeah, it's a great conversation. It was a great place for us to start.
Yeah.
I think it might have been our first interview, wasn't it, back and it was in 2020.
Yeah. Our first interview.
Yeah.
The first person who said yes that they would be interviewed by us, and during really a difficult time. And so, Rossana, I remember taking the footage home and showing it to Amy, and when Amy heard Rossana's story, just blown away.
Yeah.
Just blown away by this woman. And one of the things that I posted on Facebook was, hey, we're, two white guys, bearded brothers. But really during this time, we want to make sure that we're not approaching what's going on from a place of privilege, from a place of power. So having stories from people of color is really important to us.
Right. And that diversity of voice, the diversity of story, the diversity of backgrounds. I mean, every facet.
And the female voice. To be able to have the female voice interject and just recognize what great value. And so we don't want this podcast to be just, again, another platform where people of privilege are, trying to gain footing or anything like that. So hopefully you hear from our hearts that we really, really are looking for all kinds of stories. And so the alderwoman, Rossana, she is such a delight. And we're looking forward to it as the pandemic wanes or whatever path that takes us on. But we've got some commitment from her to be involved locally in our neighborhood with some cool dreams that we're thinking through of what could happen on West Sunnyside.
Right. And I think it is a good thing, and through that conversation, what we learned, and then being able to engage in saying, because she's also interested in some of the same things, and that's what you're going to learn through that interview, and make sure you check in and check it out.
Oh, yeah. And the other thing is now as people are viewing, we just want to keep on encouraging it. Hey, reach out to us through email. Send us a question that you want us to consider conversation on in a Phil and Steve edition. The other thing that you can do is, just make sure you let other people know about what's going on. But there's definitely some good traction that's occurring.
Yeah, and it's just going to get better.
Oh my word! It is just going to get better, and so we're working on that. You can even let us know in the comments section on when's your favorite time to listen, because we're just working through all of the details of making these conversations available.
Yeah, and I would also say, is there a difference between when you're listening, whether you're picking up the audio on the podcast, or when you're watching? And if you try to do both, or you're just trying, or do you prefer one or another? Like, hey, fill us in. We like to know. We like to know who you are. We like to know, those flows, ebbs and flows of when you're being able to pick it up, and so that we can make sure to also adjust to that.
Yeah. So about Thursday's broadcast, any other thoughts come to mind that you want to share?
About the broadcast?
Or just about the alderwoman and the alderwoman story, or...
Yeah, I mean, some of it as you learn, but I met her before she was elected the alderman of our ward.
Yeah.
And I was just fascinated by her heart, and maybe, to me, it's always like her heart for people.
Yeah.
And that's just something that I'm intrigued by, because I think that we have a similar as a whole podcast, right, is digging into people's stories and actually learning it and hearing it and trying to understand it.
Yeah.
And to me, I think that's, where we share in that wonderful part, and just, and listening to some of the story I didn't know about her.
Yeah.
It's really fascinating.
Yeah. Yeah. So if you're new to the podcast, I just want to give you a kudos for checking in with us, seeing what's going on. And I could not be more, I'm super excited about this interview. And I'm telling you, if you're having a bad week or it's just a bad day, get through to Thursday, because this woman is going to inspire you. She's going to have words of for you to consider, and just realize that your story that you're living out is as amazing as hers.
Yeah.
And we're looking forward to talking to you,
For
even
sure.
though we haven't met. For those of you that we have met, we look forward to talking to you again soon. Take care.
Take care, everybody.